way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I'm joined by my best buddy, Regz. Regz, I can put another title next to my name beside host now.
You can. It's a cool one, too.
It might be, aside from, like, loving husband.
There you go.
It might be the best title that I've ever had. Regz, I can say I am a best-selling author. What an honor. I was going to save this for
Claps
Fixated,
all around.
We'll just get it out of the way right now. Thank you. If you bought the book, if you didn't, you're not my friend anymore. I'm kidding. I love you regardless of whether or not you bought my book. But
I was
if
about
you
to say,
did seriously,
shit, because I'm... I promise you I will, but I haven't done it yet.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I really just want a signed one when I come to see you. That's really what
I mean, I'll sign it for you.
I know, but can't you like buy it and have you sign it right there?
Yeah, are you coming on the 10th?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'll have some copies there for you.
There you go. See, I wanted to make it special. I wanted you to watch me buy it. Be like, Azzy, look at me. Look at me doing it. I'm doing it, buddy.
There it is. This guy. I mean, I was about to say this has been a good run on the Phixated Podcast.
It's been 2 years. We did good.
Solid 2 years. Lots of good things happening.
Solid 2 years.
But thank you if you bought the book. Thank you so much for buying it and supporting it. I never imagined in a million years that it would have this kind of outpouring. But here we are. I'm like sitting in the top 5. I was #1 bestseller 24 hours after the book was released, both here in the United States and in Canada. And then, kind of fluctuated a little bit, like in the top 3 and 4 now after a week. And still considered the #1 hot new release in education books as of today, as of like an hour ago when I looked, because I'm like obsessive over it now. I'm like, did I move? I don't want to move. But just a really cool 7 days, man. Like, it released a week ago today, and it has just been nonstop excitement and, pure chaos since the release. So thanks for indulging me in my not so humble mode.
It's awesome, man. I was so happy to see the text. Or first of all, thrilled that you wanted to text me that, because I love to share in the positives. But it's awesome. You deserve it. You put a lot of hard work into it. You've been working your butt off on it. So couldn't be more happy and proud of you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Just a real kind of shock to the system, honestly. Like, not something that I ever really anticipated happening, but super excited that it did. So, all right. Now, no one's really here to listen to me talk about my book. I could keep going, but we're gonna keep on rolling and get into the Philadelphia sports part of the show.
Hey,
tonight.
We'll put a link to the book in the description.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna do that, and honestly, like, you follow us on Twitter, you can find it there, as well. But either way, just an unbelievable week for me. So thanks for being part of it and riding with me all. I really appreciate it. Lost in the chaos of my week, we didn't really talk a whole lot about the Sixers.
We didn't.
Just in our normal text chain. I was so bad at texting this week because I was in Knoxville and the book stuff. Like, I just wasn't really like my normal Azzy texting self. But first of all, they're 3-1. So they had that tough loss the first night of the season, and obviously probably should have won that game if it weren't for the, crooked officiating at the end of that game.
Yeah, that was something.
They've looked really good. The two-man Maxey Embiid thing has been pure joy. And Kelly Oubre now starting after the
Yeah.
PJ Tucker trade. I'm waiting for like the 1 of 13 shooting night, but
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's all right.
yeah, but like he's fine. He's fine. He's the fourth option. I don't know that there's a guy who hated playing with James Harden more than Tobias Harris, by the way.
Yeah.
Because not that, and again, we do this every year with Toby. Like he's good for like 6-7 games,
Yep.
and then he falls off the face of the earth. But you can tell he feels there's more comfort with him, and maybe it's the Nick Nurse offense. I don't know, but he feels you can tell there's more of a comfort for him. But ultimately, Tyrese Maxey's a freaking star. Joel Embiid, yes, we know. But yeah, they just look like more of a basketball team, Regz.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, if you needed more of a reason why I said James Harden should never be on this basketball team again, like this,
There it is.
this again, it's not going to always be this great. There are going to be times where it doesn't look great, but just think of what we think of the Maxey Embiid stuff, and Maxey still isn't even that good at it.
Right.
Like he's not even that good at the pick and roll stuff yet.
He hasn't figured it out yet.
No, but he is. He is figuring it out, and he will figure it out. Look, is he ever going to be as good of a passer as James Harden? Probably not. James Harden, for all his faults, is like one of the best passers of the basketball we've seen in a very long time.
It's a tall task.
You're right. So no one's sort of asking him to be that. It's just getting comfortable in those looks when you come off a pick from Joel Embiid and how to feed him in the right positions and get it in a spot where he's, can flow into a shot or into a drive or whatever it is. It's little things like that you just develop as you do it more and more. And, some guys can naturally do it, like the Hardens and guys like that. But some guys just have to learn it. And Maxey will learn it. He'll get there. And I just think the confidence you see in him is what everyone wanted to see. Like, this is what we wanted to see. We didn't want to see him have to defer to James Harden to just sit there and hold the ball. And we're not. And this team is just full of a bunch of NBA players.
Yeah.
And feels like they have a little bit of depth now and an ability to, get Embiid off the floor for some minutes and actually have an offense where stuff happens. People move. People are engaged. All those things that James Harden teams just don't have. At least don't have.
I do want to say this much, and I know, there are going to be people who don't necessarily agree with this. And, for all of his flaws, and he had a lot, one thing that I do want to acknowledge, he seemed to have a really positive impact on Tyrese Maxey. Like Maxey's confidence. He was coaching him on the bench, right? Like Maxey would go looking for him. Now Maxey's a very coachable kid too. Like he's going to ask for help from literally everybody. We've heard about the work ethic. Like we know what he's all about. But I do want to at least acknowledge, like, he didn't play the passive aggressive veteran when it came to Maxey. Like he did try and help him and instill confidence. Do you remember there was a game where like he wasn't playing and he was like on the bench basically screaming at Tyrese to shoot the basketball. And Tyrese like went off and put up like 45 that night or something like that. I think we were recording that night actually when it was happening. So again, he had a ton of flaws. He's not perfect. He was a very stand still, stand and deliver type of basketball player that slowed everything down for this offense. And again, I think, some of that was also Doc and his approach. But yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. And they are more, they're definitely deeper than they've been in years. But some of that comes from the trade. So let's jump into that.
I was about to say, yeah, pretty important note there.
Yeah. So James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philippe Petrusev went to the Clippers. James Harden in his introductory press conference, not only was he over an hour late for it, but was quoted as saying, "I'm not a system player. I am a system." So it'll be fun to see him be a system with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook. That'll be good times. I'm sure there won't be any issues at
No,
all.
why would there be?
In return, the Sixers did get a ton of depth. Nick Batum, who's a nice shooter, man. Like that dude can fill it up. From outside, he can definitely fill it up. KJ Martin, who's a young, exciting type of player, will be fun to watch Nick Nurse develop him a little bit. That dude can fly too. Like he's one of those athletic types that the Sixers just haven't had over the course of time. Marcus Morris, who is a Philadelphia native and comes with a bit of an edge. Like you lost edge with Tucker, but you didn't necessarily lose a ton of it because you still have Pat Bev and now you have Marcus Morris who plays with an edge, right? Like that's who he and his brother both do that. And I saved the best for last. Welcome home, Robert Covington.
Welcome back.
Rocco comes home, baby. Rocco comes home. So you get a little bit of length in regards to like the wing, and he's a really good wing defender. He's not what he once was, but can still play that 3 and D role off the bench for them. Maybe give him a start here and there, when guys are down. But certainly an upgrade over Danny Green at this point. Especially defensively.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Danny Green. There was like this whole thing on
I
his podcast where like he was basically unpacked and his family got here and then he got waived. I do feel badly. The guy always played hard in Philadelphia, but this deal certainly brings dudes who are going to come in and make an impact. And make an impact. But that wasn't where it stopped, Regz. The Sixers added 2 second-round picks. They got a 2028 unprotected first. The Clippers could be really bad in 2028. Regz. They could be really bad because of what isn't ahead of them here. With the 4 guys they have all aging, and I think Kawhi's a free agent after this year anyway. There's a 2029 pick swap. So the Sixers, if they finish behind or better than the Clippers, can swap picks and move up in the draft. And then they get a first round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2026. And I don't know, man, the Thunder just don't look like they're ever going to again. So this was a really good deal. Like, really good. So think about it this way. This is the perspective I've been trying to put it in for people. James Harden could have walked this offseason for nothing.
Yeah.
If the Rockets were like, yeah, we'll take you back. The Sixers would have gotten zilch for him. Nothing. Instead, they get 5 players. 4 players, 3 of whom are going to make instant impact. 1 of whom we'll see. I'm anxious to see him develop. And then 5 picks. 5 picks. Now, are they going to have all 5 of those picks by the end of this year? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
They now have some more assets to go and bury in a deal for a guy that can get him over the top if they feel like they can compete in the East. And honestly, when you look at the East, I mean, we thought the Bucks were going to be all that, but like the more I've watched them, and I've watched 3 of their games now, it just doesn't look like Giannis and Dame are going to be able to function because Giannis can't shoot.
Yeah. Well,
so I know it's early. I know you can tell me that, but we're going to revisit this later because I just don't know that they're as tough as what they're going to be tough because the NBA wants them to win. That's why they're going to be tough. We already saw that. So conversation for a different day. Your thoughts on the deal? I think Morey did a phenomenal job considering they could have gotten nothing for Harden this past summer.
Yeah, let's start by saying I think this was good. I think the fact that you get 3 players who are NBA players who can immediately come in, they're not taking away space from any of your important players. They should it should be very easy for them to come in and learn a new, a system, a Nick Nurse system that shouldn't be a problem. All these guys have moved around a bunch. They know how to come in and, be a part of a team and get it figured out and figure it out quickly. The three, they are older, so you're not getting a bunch of youth here, but the other plus is they're all expiring. They're all expiring contracts, which is a big deal because after this year, you have a lot of money coming off the table. And not only that, expiring contracts are still trade chips. They're still an important part of trades during the season because people want to get off of money, when the season is done. So I thought the number of picks, again, it was just kind of refilling the basket to allow them some flexibility to see how the first half of this season goes, see if maybe some teams losing a bunch more than they thought they were going to be. Maybe a superstar gets, more mad than they would have or anybody thought they would during the season. All of these things are still a possibility. So now the Sixers have the ability to match money, to figure out how to move some of the picks around, to put packages together for potential very good players. I don't think this was the move to help them make the bigger move. They didn't get like the two guys from the Clippers that I think they probably really wanted, which were, gosh, you're going to have to help me with their names, but like everyone's been talking about how they wanted to put certain players in that trade. Mm-hmm. Was Terrence Mann one of them? Terrence Mann might have been one of them.
Yes, he was. Mm-hmm.
So they didn't get the young, kind of players who are already playing and playing well. I think having that being off the table, getting back these players with these contracts and just the number of picks that they got allows them to have a ton of flexibility to go do the next thing that I think really improves your team. I think this allows your team to still be competitive. This allows now Tyrese Maxey has the ball in his hand all the time, which is what everyone wanted to see. Do we know if Maxey's going to be amazing? We don't know yet for a whole season. He's playing very well right now, which is fantastic. And the more confidence you can give him and the more reps you can give him being that ball handler in those pick and rolls with Embiid, the better your team is going to be in the long run. But this allowed you to get guys who are going to come in, who are going to learn a system, who are going to be a part of the system. They don't need to have the ball in their hands all the time. They don't need to take attention away from your two main superstars. Listen, I think they're still probably the third best team in the East, and we'll see how that plays out. Boston is obviously a juggernaut. Like, they're playing very, very well right now. And the fact that they got Drew Holiday, I can't believe it, because almost a better version of Marcus Smart that they added to their roster. So they're still very good. Look, I'll go against what you said a little bit. Giannis is still one of the greatest players in the world, and I think they're going to figure it out. I really do. Their defense is terrible, which is something I think we kind of expected. So I think it depends more on can they stop anybody than if they're going to score enough. Like, Dame can score enough for, a team with Giannis on it. That's for sure. It's can their defense hold up. But they're right. The Sixers are right there in that top 3-4 conversation. And that's exactly where I think you have to be if you want to keep a guy like Joel Embiid happy. You want to quell these Knicks rumors that keep popping up, that will continue to pop up. More rumors will pop up as we get farther and farther into this. But overall, I think the trade was very good. I was happy. I mean, look, could it have been better? Sure. You could have gotten those guys that you really wanted to get. You didn't do that. So for this being sort of option number 2, I think the amount of draft picks that they got and the fact that all these guys are on expiring contracts, which allows you more pieces to make that next move. So overall, I thought it was good. I'm amazingly pleased that James Harden is no longer on my basketball team. And if this is how it happened, then I think I can be pretty happy with that. Pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, so I think what you mentioned there, you mentioned Terrence Mann. The other guy would be Norman Powell.
Thank you. Yes.
That I think they were after. But your next best thing is, all right, well, if you don't get either of those guys, what can you do? Well,
Yes.
you can get a whole bunch, like you said, a bunch of expiring contracts. So one, you can acquire an asset that will help you this year, right? Or you go through this year, you see what happens. Maybe you make a run, maybe you don't. But if you don't, you have the second largest cap number
Yeah.
available going into the off season. And there are plenty of guys that you can bring here. Now I've seen them tied to dudes so far, like I didn't see anything official on this, but like Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, like those dudes that maybe they could bring in this year to help them, but we'll see. I'm curious kind of to know where they go, but you're right. This was like twofold. What can you do for me now? But what can we get ourselves in the future based off of this deal? And
Yeah.
I think he just did an incredible job.
I think the most important, there were two very important things. Number one, James Harden has to be off this team because the circus following it wasn't helping anybody.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they felt about James Harden, the person, which, like you said, to a man on this team, everyone seemed to enjoy James Harden as a guy. So like you were saying in the beginning. But he wasn't helping your basketball team. And the circus that was going on because of whatever him and the little spat between him and the general manager it just was too much. It didn't need to hang over this team like a cloud. So you had to get rid of James Harden. Number two was you had to keep yourselves in the hunt and towards the top of the Eastern Conference. And I think they did that. And I think without hitting the home run, like I'm sure they wanted to, you gave yourself the ability to just surround your best players with guys who can play basketball in the NBA. None of them are flashy. None of them are going to blow you off, right? Jump out of a box score. But your job was to keep Embiid happy, keep this team relevant, and let Tyrese Maxey have the ball in his hands as much as possible.
Yeah. I think, what they accomplished, you think about what they've struggled with over the last couple years in the playoffs. And one of those things, I think, or two of those things are Ben Simmons and James Harden, guys that couldn't contribute at all, nor did they have the mentality to function in the postseason. So I'll be curious to see what this team looks like from the perspective of a postseason, where they have guys who are invested in the right headspace and able to perform. Again, you're right. The Celtics are on a totally different stratosphere. And maybe the Bucks will be, the juggernaut that we all thought they were, but you're right. The defense stinks. So I'm excited about the deal. I like what they did. I think there's probably a come. So from the Sixers and their movement, which we both agree is tremendous, for different reasons.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yep, for different reasons. We move to a team who's got all kinds of potential movement after their season came to a foreboding end.
Crushing, soul-sucking.
Congratulations to the Texas Rangers for doing what the Phillies could not do in beating the Arizona Diamondbacks easily, by the way. It wasn't even like a thing.
Oh, the Diamondbacks aren't very good. Who saw this coming?
Who would have thought? The Phillies have a combined number. They have 8 current players who are arbitration eligible. And they have 4 technically who are free agents. One who I just think we need to talk about, and the one who we let's start with the ARB eligible players. We're gonna go through them real quickly, one by one, and just say, hey, are you giving them this number? And moving along from there. Let's start with your obvious. Alec Boehm at $4.3 million. ARB eligible. Are you giving Alec Boehm that number?
Yeah, we can move on.
Well, here's the thing. that's the projection, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that's what he's getting.
Sure.
But if that's the projection, yeah, I'm giving it. And honestly, Regs, I might explore some sort of extension with. I try the Braves way.
Yeah, right. Of just signing him now and just
just see if you can get it done. Like, why do this year by year thing?
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. He's Ranger Suarez.
What's his number?
He is at 4.7.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I've said this to you before. I honestly would like them to consider him on a long-term deal too. I think he's proven us. I know the injuries and stuff, but like I feel like he's proven us over the course of his career that he's worth the run. You know what I mean? Like he's worth the run.
Yeah,
that's sort of where
absolutely.
I'm at. Gregory Soto at 4.9.
I mean, I guess I'd like if it could be a little less, but I still
I
want
agree.
Soto around.
Yeah, I agree. I actually
think 4.9 is a little much, but
they can probably get it for less. Honestly, they can probably
maybe
make
like
that
3.5.
I don't know if they can get to 3.5. They might have to get to 4.
Okay,
but I'd like to see it a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see them get a little bit lower. All right, then we've got Jeff Hoffman at 2.1.
Listen, I think Jeff was amazing. I think he obviously pitched well above what anyone believed he would.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can I do like a 1.5? You know what I
He's
mean?
a guy,
like,
he's a guy that I'd try and get for a little less. But if you have to give him 2, whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's
Right.
not going to break your bank with all the. I mean, last year, I think I'm trying to see what he made last year.
I mean, he literally turned into one of your most reliable arms.
Right. So I think 2 is probably fair. I think he's got like 5 years of service time. So, yeah, he's 2's about right. I think. I don't know that he's going to get less than that. Edmundo Sosa 1.7. I do it.
Yeah. Again, I'm like nitpicking it to say like, can you make it 1.3 or something? At that point, it just what's another $400,000, right?
Yeah, I think he has to be there. He's a guy that you just have to have. He's an excellent utility.
That's a game's worth of player. Parking for the Phillies.
Yeah, that's nothing. Like it is legitimately nothing for them. Let's move. We're gonna save the hardest one. Let's Jake Cave 1.5, 1.4.
No, I'm not paying Jake Cave $1 million to be terrible.
Yeah, $1.5 million. You can find another Jake Cave. He has no options left, so I was curious about that because that matters, right? Like if he has an option left, fine.
But like
send him back and forth all you want. But he doesn't have
give me
an
Weston
option.
Wilson. Like, what's the difference at that point, other than one's right-handed, one's left-handed? I get it. But
yeah, they're going to want to get a lefty bat.
I get it, but I think you can find someone.
They found Jake Cave this year.
Easily enough.
Yeah, they found Jake Cave this year. They'll find another version.
Yeah.
There's no doubt they'll do. Dylan Covey at 1.
This is just interesting. They have some love affair with Dylan Covey. I couldn't believe he was still on this roster for as long as he was.
Riggs, honestly, he got better as the year went on.
He did.
In terms of that role.
You're right. And right now, like with Bilotti being someone we don't know about, Nelson still not being somebody they can trust. Like, I don't know. Like every team needs that kind of guy. And if we're going to be honest, he's got a better chance of like striking somebody out than Michael Lorenzen does. Because he's actually got some stuff that people tend like swing and miss at.
I think for me with Covey, it's like everybody needs a mop up, dude. You mentioned Nelson, you mentioned Bilotti. If you have 3 of them, you hope that you strike some sort of gold with one of the 3 again next year. I think that's all it is. And I don't mind Covey at 1. Again, like you said, that's a day's worth, it's game's worth of parking. And like half a game of concessions
Yeah.
at Citizens Bank Park. So I have no issue with him coming back at that number. I actually think he has an option too. So, you can toss him back and forth
Right.
between the bigs and the minors like they did Bilotti, and he didn't have any options left this year. I think he has one this year, and that's it. He's out. All right. So this is gonna shock you. This is the one I'm having the hard. Garrett Stubbs at 900,000. And I got to tell you, I'm really struggling because you know how much I love Garrett Stubbs.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate vibes guy. That the team loves him, the manager loves him. I think he's fine for a backup that only has to play 25, 30 games a year. That being said, at some point you need a backup that can play more than 25, 30 games a year because JT's not getting it.
Yeah.
And he's going to need more days off. And Rafael Marchand is like just hanging out
there, right?
and is going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. And honestly, probably gives you more with the bat and is a legit stud defensively.
Yeah.
So, his only issue throughout his career has been injuries, and he's going to be a backup. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I understand the vibes thing, and like, I get all of it, and he's one of my favorite players on the he's the only dude from this team that I'm a jersey of.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if it's the right guy to be at that. And people are like, "Oh, backup catcher's not a big deal." Right.
It is when you have an aging catcher.
Yeah, until it is when you have an aging catcher. Exactly. And JT keeps himself in great shape.
Yeah.
But like,
You
I
just
don't
take
know,
a,
man.
Yeah, you just take a beating back there.
I actually think it might be time to move on. And I that breaks me to say.
I think the difference is there's a guy like Marchand who's just waiting around.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a guy like that, then it's an easy decision. Like, you just keep Stubbs and it is what it is. But Marchand has just kind of been waiting. And he's been up a few times. But when you, like you said, when you want a guy who's that good defensively at it, like, it's kind of like, get him up here. He's going to get a little, he has the ability to maybe take an extra day here and there from JT. He's obviously not the same offensive player, but like, Stubbs isn't that great offensively anyway. So
yeah, Stubbs, it's not like you're
not losing anything there.
Correct. Dude,
it
just
is tough.
Breaks my
It is
heart.
tough.
It breaks my heart to say that because I don't want it to happen.
Can you just make him the AAA catcher in case Rafael gets hurt?
Yeah, he'll get a big league job somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where I struggle is just like, again, it's the camaraderie in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And you do have to take that into some sort of consideration, but I think, you also have to take into consideration the guy and the ability, and
Right.
I think Marchand is an upgrade at that position and can give them 40 to 50 games behind the plate and give JT more of a blow. Even just from the defensive perspective. Again, Stubbsy actually is fine defensively. He's not at all. He's one of the better defensive backups in the sport.
Yeah.
Has a great pop time, not unlike JT does. But Marchand is unbelievable back there. I mean, we saw glimpses of it in 2020 when he was up, how talented he is defensively. So we'll see. Look, at the end of the day, if we get an update saying that the Phillies have agreed to terms with Stubbs, I'm going to throw myself a party.
Yeah, right.
Because I love the guy. But I would understand if they decided to go their separate ways. So I think at the end of the day, we're looking at 6 guys that we definitely think that they bring back. One that we're like, see ya. And then one that we're like, don't want him to go, but could see it happening.
Yeah.
That's where my head's at. Hey, do you remember Scott Kingery?
Yeah. How could I forget?
Well, yeah,
Scotty
they declined his $13 million option.
Thank God.
That guy was making so much money. He was making $10 million.
Nothing.
He was making $10 million this year. Now, here's the thing. Because he's technically still on his rookie contract, He's not off. He's not out of the organization. He's not a free agent.
Didn't they say they still like are paying him $1 million or something?
Yeah, his buyout.
Yeah, right.
But he's still in the organization because he's still playing on his rookie deal essentially. So he can't be a free agent until after this year.
So what's he's gonna play for $1 million instead of $10
million?
AAA.
He's gonna be in AAA.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's gonna be in AAA. So
what a nightmare contract that was.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't notice it, but there's $13 million free now.
That's right.
There's $13 million just out there that we forgot existed.
That's right. We've been flushing down the toilet for 5 years.
Not that it's gonna matter. Like
no.
Middleton's opening up the checkbook whether that 13 million was there.
Yeah, but still, it's nice to know. Nice to know it's there.
It's nice to know it's there. Now, who will he open it up on, you ask? Well, we will find out. The Phillies have 4 free agents. They could offer them $20.3 million qualifying offers. These are the names of the 4 free agents. Michael Lorenzen, the aforementioned Michael Lorenzen. The ill thought of Craig Kimbrell.
Did you get that text I sent you with the scariest?
Yeah. Yeah. The beloved Rhys Hoskins. And the ace in the hole, Aaron Nola. Regz, do you offer that $20.3 million to any of the 4?
So I think let's just say this. The thing with the qualifying offer is that if the Phillies offer it to any of them and then they sign somewhere else, we get a comp pick, correct?
Yes.
From the team that signs them. A la
you get a comp pick.
Yeah.
It's not you don't get their pick.
No, right.
You get a end of a round.
Yes.
Yeah. They lose a pick, but you get a pick at the end of
yes.
it. Yeah.
A la the Trey Turner and Castellanos signings, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just putting that out there so people understand what how that qualifying offer works.
Very fair. Yep.
I think the first 2 are very simple. No to Craig Kimbrell, no to Michael Lorenzen.
Correct.
I think the only one I'm actually interested in is the Nola one.
Yeah.
I don't listen, we talked about this. I just don't think Rhys is coming back. Harper showed you enough as a first baseman. Again, unless this is very much unless Bryce Harper goes into those meetings with Dave Nabrowski and Rob Thompson and just like, I want to play the outfield again.
Mm-hmm.
I did what I had to do to help us out, but
stick me in left field.
Right. But I want to be in the outfield, which could happen. So
sure could.
Let's say that. But if we're going off the fact that we have no idea what his preference is, we're going to make that up and just say that he could play first base. And so the only one that, I'm thinking of is Nola, because there aren't a ton of really solid number 2s out there that I think would be some huge upgrade over Aaron Nola. So that's just, again, we don't know how much money is going to be offered to Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that intrigues me is the decision with Nola.
Well, he's the one you offer it to. You absolutely do not offer it to guys like Lorenzen or Kimbrell.
Yeah.
Kimbrell takes that in a heartbeat.
Oh my
he's
God,
not getting
right.
He's getting a 1-year deal wherever he goes. Lorenzen would probably take it. Rhys would definitely take it because he's not getting that type of money over 1 year
coming
anywhere.
off a knee injury. Yeah.
Right. Nola isn't going to take it.
Yeah.
Nola's not going to take it by the deadline, is what I'm saying. I read today that they would get a 4th round comp pick for him. So you definitely offer him the qualifier because he's walking away from them.
Right.
And you're going to get your comp pick. The other 3 are clearly too much of a risk. I think there's probably an argument to be made for Rhys because Scott Boras is agent. So, there's potential where maybe Rhys doesn't take it, but I don't think you get much of I don't think comp pick's going to be hard to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because he was injured all of last year. If he were healthy, you offer it to him in a minute. But because he's coming off an injury, it's too much of a risk. So let me ask you. Obviously, we agree we've talked about it. You got to bring Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
I think, again, for vibe reasons, like, yeah, Reese, we would love to have him back, but there's just no room on this team for him unless you're looking to deal one of the outfielders.
Yeah.
Or Schwarber, and I just don't see that being the case from a front office perspective. Craig Kimbrell was a 1-year deal and a 1-year deal only. He will not be back, especially after the way things ended here. He'll find another 1-year deal somewhere, and he will probably be good for a part of the season.
Yeah.
And that's fine. He was good for a stretch of the season here. I would consider something with Lorenzen. I'm not saying a huge contract. I'm not saying anything absurd, crazy, ridiculous. I'm talking like 5th starter swingman type of money, like a 2-year situation because of his versatility. You know, you always need depth in that starting rotation. And the Phillies are going into next year with a rotation, as long as they bring Nola back, with a rotation that's virtually set, right? Like, it's pretty much set. You know that you're getting, if Nola comes back, Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez.
Yeah.
Those are your 5. Abel's waiting in the wings. McGarry's still got work to do. Painter won't be ready. But if you're looking to have some flexibility and some versatility, and he's willing to do it, I think Lorenzen's fine. I think he's fine because he can pitch out of the pen for 2 or 3 innings, or he can go and spot start. So that if you do get stuck in this situation where you have a spring training injury, you don't have to use Matt Strong. You don't have to use Dylan Covey. You have a guy like Michael Lorenzen who can go out there and start a game. For Christ's sake, he was an all-star and he threw a no-hitter. I know he died. I know he did.
Yeah.
I know he was bad the last 5 times he started games. But I do think that there's legitimacy to him being a front end of your bullpen type of guy, like an inning eater when your starter doesn't get you deep enough in the regular season.
But does he sign like a 2 for $8?
I actually don't know. I haven't done enough research to know what his value is.
Yeah.
I'd have to look and see. The other question is he gonna he wants to be a star.
Yeah.
He's made that clear. And will he find an organization that will give him that opportunity? I think. But what's going to be more important to him? Is it going to be that I start for a team who's not going to go far? Or is it going to be I want to play for a team who's got a shot? And I think when you come to this city and you experience it the way that he got to experience it, for me, he feels like the type of guy who's going to want to at least consider coming back in any role they'll give him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what that money's going to look like. I don't know what his projection is. But it's something I think it's something to at least consider. I'm actually looking up what he made this year. I'm curious now. To see what he made this year. He made 1 for $8.5.
I'm not.
So could you get him
paying him $8 million?
Could you get him for 2 for $12?
Yeah. How about 2 for $10?
We're talking $1 million a year difference. So I think he'd be worth something like that in my eyes. Just again, you're paying Taijuan Walker $24 million.
Yeah.
You can pay Michael Lorenzen $7 million a year. That's nothing.
Yeah.
In baseball terms anymore. It's really nothing.
Yeah.
Especially if you're paying the guy to go between two spots, right? You're gonna start, you're gonna come out of the pen. We're gonna have months where we're gonna need you to start games because we play 10 straight.
Right.
Right. When we hit August,
or
we're gonna go back to
somebody tweaks something for a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we have a doubleheader. You're starting game 2, right? August rolls around like it did this year. We're gonna go to a 6-man rotation for that's what a guy like Michael Lorenzen gives you. I think he's worth that sort of investment. I really do. So he'd be someone that I'd consider. as like a swing man. I think it's important to have that type of a guy and entirely. So I know what you're saying. You don't want to give the guy $8.5 million, but that's nothing in Major League Baseball. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
that's
Aaron
true.
Nola is going to make like $25 million in
Yeah.
free agency a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do our predictions a little bit later, but I would at least consider bringing him back. I think the versatility in and of itself is important. All right, but little news coming out of a interview today with Scott Boras. Scott Boras was talking about, potentially extending Bryce Harper's contract. That's already 10 years long. Or is it 12? I can't remember. Either way. Bryce
I think
is
we're
here for
at
a
10
long
years,
time.
right? It was 13 for.
Is that what it was?
And now it's been 3 years.
Okay. So, look, Bryce has been incredible. But an extension would put him into his like early 40s, 42, 43. And you'd probably be paying him more than you are right now because of the pay cut he took to get here in the first place. So it didn't sound like they were demanding it. It sounded like he was sort of saying Bryce is going to want to sit down with ownership at some point to have this conversation.
Yeah. I did see this. I completely brushed it off as nothing. And then you brought it up before we started. And I told you I was going to give you my true reaction when I finally read the article.
And here it is.
This is an agent. This is an agent who's upset that his client took this kind of contract. This is a guy who saw money left on the table for not only himself, but his player. Bryce Harper has not said a peep about this. Not a peep. I think the closest he's gotten to something like this is that, well, yeah, towards the end of my contract, if I'm still playing well, and I might want to stick around for a little while longer.
Yeah.
We're 3 years in to a $13 million deal. Is this deal incredible given Bryce Harper's performance on the baseball field? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to knock on wood. The dude had Tommy John surgery. Like, everything isn't going to go awesome all the time for the next decade. Like,
Correct.
if baseball has taught us anything, there will be a speed bump. We hope that's after the parade.
Just a couple.
Just make it after the parade. I don't care what happens after that. But has Bryce Harper played better than his contract in these first 3 years? Yes, he has. I don't think anyone would argue that fact.
Right.
Do I think that Bryce Harper is imminently waiting to sit down with John Middleton and get an extension? No, I don't. Do I think this is an agent who's upset that his client wanted a no opt-out long-term contract? That Bryce himself admitted, I wanted to take more years to spread the money out in order to be on a team that was going to go to NLCSs back-to-back years, that was going to be a World Series contender. Do I think Bryce Harper doesn't want to make a lot of money? Obviously he does. But at this point in his life, do I think that Bryce Harper cares more about being the highest paid guy or about winning World Series? I think he cares more about winning World Series. As opposed to being when you look at a list of the highest paid guys in major leagues, that he needs to be on top of it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree to an extent. I do think there's a piece of Bryce though that does want to play longer.
I agree with that. I just don't think 3 years into this deal is when we have to sit down and talk about an extension. If you want to talk to me in 5 more years, and he's still,
but that leverage won't live in 5 more years.
How do we know?
He's got to do it.
What if he's playing amazing?
I mean, look, if he's still playing like this at the age of 35, 36, then he's just more of a freak than I thought he was. I think from Bryce's stance, from Boris's stance, it's got to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. It can't be 5-6 years down the way, because if you wait that long, you are risking more injury. You're risking the just the natural phase of life, which is like, dude, like you and I are 35, 36 years old, right? Like, and I know we're not freak athletes. We're not robots like Bryce Harper. I get that. But your body takes a toll. Like it things happen naturally. It's just the progression. Like, I know that he's a freak, but his body's not going to hold.
Yeah, you're right. Look,
you know what I mean?
You're right.
Like,
I'm so tired. I think I'm tired of just, it's even like the Manny Machado thing. You signed a contract, man. How about just, I get it that Bryce signed a very long contract. I understand.
Yeah, without an opt-out.
I understand that he's been playing very well. Like, I get it. But at some point, all that evens out. Like, when he's 40, paying him this amount of money is going to be ridiculous. Because like you said, he's just not going to be the same guy.
Well, I will say, by the time that rolls around, though, like 10 years from now, 20 million is going to be a joke in baseball.
I understand, but not for like not for a 40-year-old. It's going to be a joke for the studs who are 25.
Yeah, but there are going to be other dudes making that money that aren't Bryce Harper.
I just am like, Scott, I appreciate you wanting to make as much money as possible for your guy. I appreciate that you have the leverage at this point because he's been playing so unbelievably well. Your guy signed the contract, man. Like, it hasn't been that long. We got to talk about this now. I get it. You're mad about it. You're upset. I understand. I get it. The dude signed the papers.
He gets it.
The dude signed the papers, which means we don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything just because Scott Boras wants us to.
Well, we will see. I think we're really in a little bit of a phase right now where we're reacting to whatever we read, right? And I was more of a reactor than you were in this case. But I know Harp wants, he wants to win titles. He wants to be here. He wants to be in Cooperstown one day. And all of that, I think, hinges on, being able to put up more numbers. And if that has to go into his early 40s and he thinks he can do that.
Look,
okay,
Bryce, give me a parade down Broad Street. I'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah. I will tell you this. I don't know if there's going to be anything. I'm telling you right now, in this moment, on November 3rd of 2023, November 3rd of 2023, Bryce Harper will run away with the MVP this year. Like, run away with the MVP this year, Regz. We're about to get the year of Bryce Harper.
I can't wait. I need the year of everyone. I need these guys to be
you're not
pissed
gonna get
off.
The year of everyone. You're gonna get the year. I'll tell you, you're gonna get the year of. You get the year of Bryce. You're gonna get the year of Trey for sure. The year of Trey. You're gonna get the year of Brandon Marsh. I'm telling you. Look out.
Yeah.
B Marsh is gonna have a year. I think you're gonna get another step forward of Alec Boehm, another step forward of Bryson Stott. I'm not gonna call it the year of Alec Boehm or Bryson Stott.
Right.
But I think you're getting another step forward. You're gonna get 50 from Schwarbs again, for sure. I think JT is gonna be what he is.
Yes.
And I think Nick's gonna be what he is. But you're gonna get the year of Bryce freaking Harper.
Can't wait.
Like, it's gonna be something else. That dude is gonna be on such a mission this year.
Yeah.
Regz, he might have a 162 game hitting streak.
Bring it on.
All right, man. Good Phillies talk. We really didn't think we were going to have much about there. We were kind of meandering around some other ideas, but
literally, because when you mentioned the art, I said, because the first thing I thought was like, what do I care what Scott Boras says? Who cares? I don't care what he says. Come to me when Bryce Harper is the one saying it, and then we'll be fine.
Well, he holds a lot of stock in this world.
Whatever.
All right. Well, there's a semi-big football game this weekend. But before we talk about the semi-big football game this weekend, I just want to touch on the football game last weekend. A couple of things that I'd like to say. Sam Howell is only good against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's number one.
Yeah.
That dude, and I look, I know we have Commander fans that listen to our show. So I just want to be very poignant in saying exactly what I mean by that, because I don't want it to be lost in translation. So I'm trying to actually find the tweet about Sam Howell. Sam Howell has 35% of all passing yards the Eagles have allowed this year. 687 of 980. That's a Sam Howell stat right there. Where's the one about Sam Howell? The Eagles versus every other team. Of course I can't find it.
I'm just convinced Biemini has like figured out the code for Desai's headset when they play against them. Or he's got like a mole in the
Does he work for the Michigan Wolverines?
Yeah, he's got a mole in the defensive video room or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the stat, but it's like ridiculous. It's like Sam Howell versus the Eagles and Sam Howell versus. Now, obviously, I can't find it, and that's really. I'll find it at some point, but he's very average Joe.
Oh my God, yeah.
Everybody else, but then he comes to Philly or plays Philly and just torches us. Now, here's the thing about the Commanders. They're willing to play this really slow pace to dink and dunk down the field and then take like one shot when they get inside the red zone against the Eagles. A lot of teams aren't willing to do that. Like a lot of teams want to play, they want to play big ball, right? Like they want to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
That's the Cowboys. Like Dak wants to throw the ball down the field. Dak wants to show off the arm strength. The Commanders, and again, I think Bieniemy, knowing the Eagles and knowing how they like to defend, that's the game plan.
Yeah.
It was the same thing in the first game, the first time they played. They dinked and dunked and ate them up the whole way down the field. 8 clock. They did it last year too.
Yeah.
But this year's Eagles team, there's too much firepower offensively that you might be able to hold them down for a quarter and a half. But even on their worst days, they find a way. A.J. Brown might be the offensive player of the year, Regz.
Yeah.
That dude is out of control.
I think it was one of like Jalen's best passing games of his entire career.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked a lot more comfortable this week. He really did. Made some really tight window throws, including the 2 touchdowns to AJ. Where I mean, he was draped on both of them.
Yeah.
Made a couple of really good throws to Devontae. The throw he made to Julio for the go-ahead score was legit good. Or I think that was the score that put him up 2 touchdowns, actually. They had 2 fumbles in the red zone, Regz.
Right.
If they had convert
50 points,
they would have put up 50.
Yeah.
Like, and
it was like inside the 7-yard line. They had 2 fumbles.
Well, I think the Gainwell one was inside the 5, and then they fumbled again inside the 1 on the brotherly shove. And that Kelsey is like super upset with him for, because he was like, he never got the snap.
Right.
So, they ran it later and it worked.
Yeah.
There was so I was in Knoxville before we move on, and I don't know if there's anything else you want to reference that. There's one other thing I mentioned. But I was in Knoxville and I went to a sports bar that someone had suggested. So, you get there and there were actually like 6 Eagle fans.
There you go.
The bar. Yeah, we were the most populated group there, which was really awesome to see. But there was 1 Commander fan and 1 Dolphin. who decided that they were best friends on Sunday. Because according to them, the Eagles get every call. And the tush push is a rugby play. Heard that 8 times, at least 8 times.
That's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me.
The Commander fan also said that Jalen should look out for his leg.
Fun.
Yeah, it was mature of him. And there was something else. The Dolphin fan didn't even know where his kids were half the time. They were sitting on a couch at the front, like basically by where I was sitting. And he kept walking back and forth during commercials. And these kids were like, I don't know, like 6 and 7, 6 and 8 years old. His wife was just on her phone at the table. And the two of them were just sitting on the couch. And by like the 4th time he walked over, I was like, why don't you stay over there and watch your game? I'll let you know what.
Yeah, right.
Like, I was like, I got you.
I'll give you a heads up.
Like, you don't even care that your kids are like, you don't even know. Like, you don't even know. So y'all, if you're listening, kudos to you guys for sucking at life and you know, giving your fan bases a bad name. I mean, Miami's fan base has a shitty name right now because they just won't stop. They're worse than the Niners.
Yeah, well.
That
takes a lot.
That Commander fan, I don't judge my friends who are Commander fans off of that asshole, but he was a real clown. And he did come up to me after the game and say, like, good game. You know, I accepted it, but he was genuinely a jerk of a human being for most of the game. The whole rugby play thing. What I wanted to say to him was, if you had a chance to say that to Jordan Mailata, like stand in front of Jordan Mailata, who has been very public in saying it's an insult to rugby.
Yeah, right.
When you say that this is a rugby play. Would you do it? Would you say it in front of the 6'8", 375-pound man? Would you? Because I don't think you would. You'll say it in front of the 5'8", 165-pound man. You wouldn't say it in front of the 6'8", 375-pound
He wouldn't
man.
say it in front of me.
He wouldn't say it in front of a rugby player my size.
Yeah, right.
like Jordan was on the Kelsey's show this week. He was on New Heights.
Oh, that's
and
right. Yeah.
They asked him about it, and he's like, guys, it's not even close to a scrum.
Yeah.
He's like, a scrum is so much more intense. It's so much more intense than that.
It lasts for so much longer too, a scrum.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Anyway.
That's someone who just watches First Take, and then that's like all their sports knowledge.
Yeah, it is what it is. One concern I had, and I think some of this is just gelling. Obviously, Kevin Byard hasn't played with them yet, and he jumped right in. But I mean, Reed didn't look good. It was, he was back from injury for the first time, so it might have been a little bit of that. He did have the pick late, the game-changing pick. And I'll tell you what, Darius and James didn't look good.
Yeah.
Now, again, we mentioned 35% of their passing yards have been to Sam.
Look,
They handled Miami just fine.
I've listened to a bunch of podcasts, a couple things on this. I just think that everyone is still living in a world where this is last year. I don't think we talk about enough the sort of, not outlier, but the sort of how much of a maximum percentage of success they achieved last year.
Yeah.
This year was always going to be different. Number one, because of the schedule, because of the kind of teams that they're playing in this schedule.
And still 7-1.
Exactly. I'm not again.
I know you're defending them.
Right. Number two, when you play that well, there's always a little bit of regression.
Yeah.
James and Slay are still they might be the only, or one of maybe only 3 other cornerback duos that are over 30 years old in the NFL. The entire NFL. Mm-hmm. This isn't like a thing that happens. there was going to be some regression. There was. It's just how it is. And I thought someone made a really good point on, I forget which podcast it was that I was listening to, but it was like, they said, I'm not putting a lot of stock in how they play against Sam Howell. I'm putting stock in how they play against Tua or Mahomes or Allen and guys like that. Because you know why? Because last year, for as much as they beat up on really terrible teams, when they played really good teams, they weren't very good. So this year is about how do you play against the best, not about how you're playing against everybody else. Was it not a great game for the defense? Yes. Does Bieniemy have the most confidence in beating a single team more than the Eagles? Probably not. Like that dude, when he walks into a game against the Eagles, is just like, guys, we're good. Like I know everything, and I'm going to call exactly what I need to call at every single time. And like you said, they're willing to get the ball out of their quarterback's hands as quickly as possible to neutralize the pass rush. Again, I preface all this by saying, was it a great game for the defense? No, it was not. Was it weird coming off a game where they held the highest powered offense in the NFL to 10 points? Yes, it was a bit of a shock to let up that many points to the Commanders. I agree. Let's see how they play against Dallas and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and San Francisco.
The hell run.
Yes. Like, this is when it's important. If they decided to, like, maybe save their legs a little bit for the next 6 weeks in the game against the Commanders and give up a bunch of points, cool. Like, I'm fine with that. Again, they're not going to go through this stretch undefeated. Like, people need to understand, like, in the next 6 games, if we went 500, I think a lot of us would be cool with that.
Yeah.
So this next 5 or 6 games is a much better indicator of how this defense is on the whole than 2 games against the Commanders.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. I don't disagree with that.
Again, I'm not saying that they played great and the Commanders beat them up. Like, no, they played bad. They just played bad.
Yeah. I mean, they did. The defense wasn't good, but it wasn't good the first time. It feels like the Commanders are the bugaboo. But if other teams start to emulate that, you know, that could be a thing, man.
Sure.
Real quickly, we haven't done this in a minute. We're in week 9 and we haven't checked back on my predictions.
Oh, great.
None of which are very good. So,
but still, always enjoy hearing about them.
We definitely are over the 8.5, like Sirianni at this point on camera. That dude every week is on camera doing something.
Easily.
So I hit that.
Yeah, put the check mark next to that one.
We're putting the star there.
Yeah.
We got to start with the cheesesteak on national TV. That's happened. All right, here's where it gets dicey for me. Quez Watkins 600 yards. I think we can say.
Yeah, I think you can you cross it off now?
Yeah, we're just Xing that out.
Yeah.
It's just that we are way gone there.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Nothing if not loyal to Quez in the bold predictions.
Always
Mike
loyal to
Azzolina.
my dude. Always. So part of this might end up being true. It's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to get there. But I had Kenny Gainwell as the number 1 back, 750 total yards. He's not the number 1 back, nor will he be. But he's like at 250, I think, yardage wise. 235, 240. So there's potential if there's like a couple of big games in there that he could get to the 750. So no, not the number 1 back. We're going to say that's not going to happen. But we're going to leave open the 750 yards.
All right. I think that's fair.
All right, good. Thank you. Devontae's not going to lead the NFC in receiving yards because his own teammate has
his own teammate.
Yeah, AJ Brown almost has 1,000 yards right now. He's at 940.
Yeah.
So sorry, Devontae.
And Tyreek Hill is still in the NFC.
No, he's in the AFC.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Miami's AFC.
Justin Jefferson is, but he's hurt.
Again, RIP my fantasy season.
Sidney Brown did not start by week 5, so that's out. Okay, Mike. Looks like Jalen's going to be the MVP, but we're not going to cross that.
No, I think that's still,
it's there. It's not great. I think he's like plus 250 right now or something. The sack record's still in play. They have more sacks at this point this year than they did last year.
There you go.
Jalen Carter, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Very much could be a thing.
They're 2-0 in the NFC East, so that's very much in play.
Yep.
Number 1 seed, still they are number one in the entire NFL right now.
Yep.
So, very much in play, and win the Super Bowl, very much in play. So, some of my like more obscure ones, not there.
All right.
This one, some of my more settled in ones, we still have a shot on. We've got 2.
You've got a shot on the important one, which is the last one.
So far, we're 2 of 5. 2 of 5.
Hey, not bad.
40% right now. So.
Not bad.
All right, Dallas week, baby. I hate Dallas so much. I don't know that there's a whole lot to say. I think we know what's at stake. The division is at stake. If you lose this game, Dallas takes the lead in the division. And you've got hell on high water coming at you. Because you go bye week, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco.
It's Kansas City away, Buffalo away, home for San Francisco.
Home. Buffalo home, San Francisco home.
That's a big deal, I feel like.
It is. Yeah, it is. So it's by Kansas City on the road,
yep.
Buffalo at home, 49ers at home, Dallas on the road, Seattle.
Away. Yeah.
And then the Giants, the Cardinals, and the Giants, which they should win all 3.
Yes.
So this is a big game, man. This is huge.
Let's just jump. I'd say we jump into the keys, because I think that's all we really got to talk about.
Yeah, man. I go for it. Start. Go there. Keys.
My key: the Eagles' offensive line playing better than the Dallas defensive line.
Did you see that they're starting Steen?
I did.
Yeah, I love it. He was a brick wall when he came in the other night, and there's no tape on him. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. A great point. I think the entire game comes down to if this offensive line can stop Dallas's defensive line from getting Jalen out of his rhythm. We're coming off Jalen's top 3 game as a passer. A.J. Brown on a hot streak. Devontae still playing well. Dallas still playing well. I think this offensive line's ability to pass protect and give Jalen an extra second for his guys to get open. I don't think this Dallas team is as good in the secondary as people think. Yes. Yeah. They're very good because their D-line is very, very good. And Micah Parsons is a problem.
Uh-huh.
And if Jalen is still not a threat to run the ball, it makes him all the more vulnerable and all the more important that this O-line can hold up for that extra half second or 3/4 of a second or full second to allow the wide receivers to get open. If they can do that, I don't think this is much of a game. Just flat out. But if they are getting pressure, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah, they're good defense. It's interesting because when you look at their pressure stats, they're actually not, in comparison, very good, but they do enough defensively to win games. So let me throw this at you. They're 20th in sacks, 23rd in pressure per percentage of snaps, 24th in quarterback hits, 29th in total pressures, 32nd in hurries. So, but you're right. They have the front to terrorize you.
Oh, yeah.
And Micah Parsons is an issue. The Eagles schemed really well for Parsons last year. The other thing about this is, for me, my key is basically the exact opposite of yours.
Perfect.
which is get to Dak.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
Get to Dak. Dak will turn over the football. He will inevitably put the ball in your hands. If you get to him and you get to him early and you're in his face early, if Sweaty's in his face and Hassan's, they might not have Tyron Smith this week.
Yeah.
I mean, that is eating good for these ends in Philly. Eating good. And that's going to cause all kinds of heck in the middle of that line. Now, I will tell you that they're going to face their toughest task because Zach Martin's legit.
Yeah.
Like future Hall of Fame good.
Yeah.
So the interior of that line isn't any. But for me, it's like force Dak into some like really questionable throws. Get him questioning himself. He's beaten us a couple of times, but he's beaten us not with Jalen. Like, let's go beat him. Get in his head. I told you before, I get to be there for this one.
Yeah.
And I would love for it to just be a drubbing.
Yeah.
Like, I would love for this to just be like what the Niners did.
Yeah.
And just walk all over them for 4 quarters. And be able to, like, wake up on Monday, Victory Monday, right? Like, a Dallas victory. There's nothing better than Dallas victory Monday. There's just not. There's not. All right, let's quickly do predictions.
All right.
Eagles are -3. We know how important the game is. If the Eagles win, they the tiebreaker. If they lose, they are tied, but the Cowboys will be in first place with the tiebreaker. The Eagles enter the toughest part of their schedule after that. So, knowing the importance of this game, they're saying they're equal on a neutral field. 46.5. What do you got?
I have the Eagles winning 30-21.
Okay. All right. I got the Eagles 31-17 in this one. I think, and I don't even think it's that close.
Yeah.
Honestly. I think they blow them up. I think they blow them up. I think it's going to be an absolute drubbing. Can we just real quickly, Rex? Real quickly. Knowing we predicted this earlier in the year, and just to give you an idea of what we had. We had 2 and 3 in the 5 coming out of this.
Yeah.
Do you change any of your predictions at this point? We both had losses to the Chiefs and Bills. We both had wins against the Niners and the Cowboys on the and we both had losses. Do you change anything?
I think we beat the Bills at home.
Yeah,
I don't think the Bills are as good as we thought they were.
And I think we beat Seattle on the road too. I think we lose to the Cowboys on the road.
I would agree with that. I think we still lose to the Chiefs somehow. I don't know how, but like we just will.
Well, Andy's coming out of a bye too, and we know how good he is coming. So, and you have to go there.
I think the only changes I would say is I think we beat the Bills, and I think we can beat the 49ers.
Oh yeah. Well, you had them beating the Niners and so did I.
Okay,
actually,
good.
I had that as my lock.
Yeah. But I think they can beat the Bills. I don't think the Bills are as good as they were or as we thought they would be.
And it coming here too.
Exactly.
Coming here.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I real quick fixated, I think. And I've thought a lot about the Phillies since the loss. And I know I got over it pretty quickly. I don't know why. But I want to just say this. I want to make sure that when I look back on this season, that I remember this team not for the choke, but for what they were, what they gave us. Truly, Regs, like this should have been a team that was remembered because they were the most like beloved team that we've had. Like even more so than the team that won the World Series.
Yeah.
And I want to remember them for that. Like, the Sting is going to be the Sting, and we know we should have beaten the Diamondbacks. We don't know that we would have beaten the Rangers.
No, absolutely not.
So, to say we should have won a World Series, that doesn't seem fair. Do I think we would have competed? Yeah, we're far better team than Diamondbacks, and I think we would have
Yes.
at least competed to the extent of, like, our pitching is far better.
Yeah, right.
So they, I don't think they would have had a 7-0 lead in the third inning of the World.
Right.
Like, I don't see that being the case. So I just want to say, if you're not over it yet, to anybody listening, like, it's fine, and you don't have to be. But when you finally do get to that place, let's try and remember this team for what they were for all of the season. Like, from June 1st on, let's remember them for that, because they gave us a hell of a ride. To get back to where they got back to the year after the World Series is nearly an impossible task, which makes me worried for next year, but I do think they're going to be the best year of their run. I do believe in that, but it is really hard to get back there. We've gotten late October baseball 2 years in a row after 11 years of no October baseball.
Yeah.
From the same group of guys. So be upset now, but when you finally get through it, understand how rare it is to be in the position we've been in for 2 seasons in a row. It's very rare, and we're very fortunate. So that's why I'm fixated on.
Well said.
Thank you. All right, y'all, listen. Thanks for watching, listening, whatever it is you're doing. If you are watching, click subscribe on the box below.
Up to 63, we're crushing it.
Let's go, baby. Let's get to 100. Let's get there.
That's
Come on now, share.
goal.
Go share. Share with your people. Make sure you go to all of your podcasts and follow, rate. We have ratings on Spotify now.
Do
We
we?
have like 7. Yeah, we have like 6 or 7 5-star ratings on,
I love you people.
which is wild. So keep doing that. And then, listen, follow us on social media. At the Phixated Pod on Twitter, at the Mic Drop 5 on Twitter, at Big Regz with a Z on Twitter, and then go to the Phixated Podcast on Facebook, and then click the merchandise link
Again,
in the show description.
my boy is draped in it. It's good stuff, people.
It is. And then click my book link in the show description and buy it. But until we'll be back on Thursday with our next episode. But until we are, be good to yourself. Be good to others. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Most importantly, go Birds! Beat Dallas. It's Dallas week, baby.
Go Birds. Buy my boy's book.
Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.